This chilling CCTV shows a 14-year-old teenage Abby Hernandez who vanished shortly after this footage was captured. For weeks, detectives found no leads. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Abby's family received a cryptic letter, a message laced with hidden clues that would shake their world and haunt them for the next 9 grueling months. But the most baffling twist? Abby mysteriously reappeared at her mother's doorstep, wearing the same clothes she had when she vanished. As investigators delved deeper into the chilling truth behind the crime, it became clear that this was far from an ordinary case. But the real shock came when Abby returned home. She refused to reveal anything about where she had been or what had happened during those 9 months. So what was she hiding? And why? October 9th, 2013 is the end of a long day at Kenneth High School, and 14-year-old Abby Hernandez is heading home. Abby, wearing the new boots her mother Xenia gifted her early for her birthday, walks with a slight limp as they're tight and uncomfortable. But despite the ache in her feet, she's excited about her upcoming birthday party, which is just 3 days away. As she reaches the schoolyard, she spots the bus pulling away. With no ride waiting for her, Abby begins the long walk home. Later that evening, her mother returns from a 2-hour shift at the hospital to an eerily quiet house. Something feels off. Abby, her youngest daughter, never failed to call or text if plans changed. A deep sense of unease begins to settle in. Many people quickly assumed that Abby had run away, but her mother, Xenia, knew better. She knew her daughter and never once believed she would leave on her own.
Abby always has been very kind, always loved animals, a little bit of a tomboy, very cheerful, happy. I was worried, but she should be somewhere. She probably is at school with her friends. I was like, okay, I'll go to school. And the librarian says I saw her leave. And that's when I got very worried. She had an injury, broke her leg, appendicitis, who knows, got hit by a car. I called the hospital at that time. I said, no, they have not seen her.
Abby's birthday was just 3 days away. The idea of her disappearing so close to such an important day felt impossible to Xenia. Something was deeply wrong. Xenia reached out to Abby's best friend hoping for some answers. Her friend shared that they had taken a selfie together just before Abby left. Abby appeared perfectly fine. She wasn't upset, and she didn't seem sick. This only deepened Xenia's worry.
The last known picture of her was the picture her and I took together in science class. I gotta tell you, she faced problems. She didn't run away from them.
Even the police officer Xenia spoke to when she reported her daughter missing agreed. Abby didn't seem like someone who had run away.
She was very family-oriented, close with her mom. We just didn't see anything that was suggestive to us that something she had done had caused her disappearance.
Classic teenage girl.
That's what she appeared to be.
Within hours, Abby's disappearance was all over the local news, leaving everyone in shock. The search continued for 3 days, with Abby's birthday approaching. The entire community came together in Conway for a vigil to honor the missing teen. Happy birthday to you. At the time, Xenia couldn't have known, but her words perfectly mirrored what Abby was experiencing.
I miss you so badly, and Sarah and I think about you all the time. And we want you back with us, please, and we love you, we miss you.
Now 2 weeks have passed, and out of nowhere Xenia got a letter from Abby in which she wrote that she had run away and please stop looking for me. But the real truth was on the back side of the letter, in which Abby was secretly saying she got kidnapped. This secret message was written by her through her fingernails, so the search for Abby began again. But now, she's not missing anymore. She is kidnapped. The real story behind the letter is the captor who asked Abby to write a letter to her mother. He was sure that this would stop the police from looking for her, as he told them they should make it look like she had run away. But Abby had something else in mind. She sees this as her only chance to talk to people outside of her group, so she tries to use her fingernails to make a small message on the back of the page. What we're about to reveal now will leave you speechless. After 9 long months of being missing, Abby mysteriously reappeared. and walked straight back into her mother Xenia's home in the same attire as she went missing. The same stripped sweater, boots, and even the same jeans. This all seems so confusing, so let's hear from Abby. What's the full story?
So bad that I got in the car.
You were 14. You were a child.
Yeah. But I tried to tell myself.
It all started 3 days earlier when Abby was walking home from school. A car pulled up beside her and the driver offered her a ride. Noticing her slight limp, he pointed it out and then asked if she'd like a lift. Despite the pain from her blisters, Abby reluctantly agreed. As soon as they got to town, the driver quickly turned toward a parking lot that was far away from everything else. Under duress, Abby had her hands tied and her eyes covered. As they drove away, he kept pushing her down under the dashboard to hide her from other people who might walk by. She tried to push him away, but things got worse quickly. Abby kept fighting back even though she was scared, but the pain in her leg got worse every time she pushed him away. When she saw that, she knew she wasn't being shot at, but rather being shocked over and over again with a stun gun.
My God, I've been shot. I did not want to die.
Since she couldn't stop him, she tried to talk him down instead.
I said, I don't judge you for this. If you let me go, I won't tell anybody. And I asked him, are you gonna rape me? And he told me, call me master.
The thief got out of the car after a long ride. Before taking off her blindfold, the man dragged Abby into a building and threw her on a dirty mattress. She looked around and saw that the floors were metal. The walls were padded to block out noise, and every door had a padlocked latch. The worst thing was the person standing right in front of her with a golden Halloween mask over his face. The person who had her then chained all of her limbs to metal bars around the mattress.
And then he put like a t-shirt over my head and then a motorcycle helmet over that. He said, if you try to scream or try to escape or make any effort to escape, there will be consequences. I can blow your brains out. I can slit your throat right open.
It's hard to explain the next 3 days. Abby had to go through a nightmare that was worse than anything she could have imagined because she was being abused and tortured over and over again.
He played heavy metal music really loud, and I was gagged and everything. I didn't know if it was day or night. And I remember praying to God, and I remember I never said, like amen in my mind. I never wanted to end my prayers because I didn't want God to leave me.
The search for Abby continues again tomorrow morning.
He eventually told me that I was on the news. Everybody was looking for me. He said, I'm gonna let you see it. He held his phone around me, and he let me watch the press conference where my mom was looking for me. That's when I really wanted to cry.
And we want you back with us, please.
I think maybe that's when I did cry for the first time there.
And nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows what you're going through.
Right.
Abby was held captive for almost 2 weeks before her captor asked her to write a letter to her mother. They were sure that this would stop the police from looking for her. As he told them they should make it look like she had run away, but Abby had something else in mind. Seeing this as her only chance to talk to people outside of her group, the teen tried to use her fingernails to make a small message on the back of the page.
It said, help, I kidnapped. I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna die tonight or I'm gonna escape somehow. He said, I found your messages, and I just felt my heart sink. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna kill me.
For now, it looked like the kidnappers didn't want to kill Abby, but they still treated her badly.
Said, I'm thinking of finding something a little more humane for you. He said, I'm thinking of a shock collar. They're like dogs wear. He put it on me, and he held a stun gun to my feet, and it was really horrible. And I remember I tried not to scream, but ultimately I had to scream. Probably the most pain I've ever experienced.
This is torture.
Yeah, it is. I just really wanted to live, though.
So that the police wouldn't look for Abby if they thought she had run away, the man in the mask made the girl write a second letter. It would be another week before the letter got to Xenia. For the first time since Abby went missing a month ago, this was proof that the teen was still alive.
It was really numbing for the first maybe 4 weeks, and then I received a letter.
I can't believe it, and I'm happy beyond belief. And I'm also confused.
about some of the language. It's her, but it's not her.
It would be easy for any mom to guess. Xenia knew that the letter was written by Abby.
I miss you and love you more than you can imagine. I'm sorry I did this. I've seen the newspaper and TV reports. And to answer your questions, yes, I'm alive. I miss you, Mom, but I won't tell you where I am.
But she couldn't get rid of the feeling that something wasn't right with it. The police also seemed to agree with Xenia. They even said that the information couldn't be shared with the public for the sake of Abby. Jane Young, the Attorney General, quickly saw that the letter was their only card.
Somehow been able to sneak a letter out. If she was in fact kidnapped, if her captor knew that, she was at greater risk.
To find Abby, they had to take a chance, let everyone know about it, and ask for help again.
We believe that it was, in fact, written by Abby.
Someone may now be manipulating her, and her safety is still absolutely in question.
The fact that she has the ability to write, send a letter, does that indicate to you that she's maybe all right?
Is this a runaway case or an abduction?
We are still classifying this as a missing person case.
That press conference had an effect that no one saw coming. People, all of a sudden, started to dislike the missing teen.
We just want to have some honest answers.
One of the things that we obviously can't control is what that court of public opinion is. I think people have formed very ardent opinions as to what they think happened.
Sounds like Abby's a punk teenager who ran away.
Doesn't sound like she's in any danger.
She should be forced to pay back the state.
This whole story has been fishy from the very beginning.
The rumors got worse as people lost interest. This was especially true at Kenneth's high school, where Abby, her best friend Miranda, and her boyfriend Jimmy all went.
I would say, if it's a runaway, we can't cover it, it's not news.
It was definitely a hot topic for gossip. Being in high school, most people want to assume, oh, she was pregnant. That must be why, that she ran away.
But her boyfriend Jimmy wasn't a suspect, according to the police. The AG could do one of two things. She either said Abby was a runaway or an abductee. Jane Young chose the second option, which is good for Abby.
People just don't disappear off the face of the earth, especially a 14-year-old girl. She didn't drive. We knew that there was money at home that she didn't take. She had only the clothes on her back. No matter where she was, it fit the definition of kidnapping.
People stopped giving tips because the media wasn't interested, and the case quickly went cold. But Xenia wouldn't let the story of her daughter die. She kept going to public events with Jane Young over the months. There, she read her cries out loud to the few reporters who still thought her story was interesting enough to put on the evening news.
Dear Abby, I believe you're out there somewhere, watching and listening to me right now. I miss you and love you so much more than you can imagine. Abby, you're a strong young woman. And I'm staying strong for you. You are courageous, you are smart, and you are beautiful. Abby, you matter to me. I believe you're alive, and I know that hope speaks louder than fear. Abby, I keep having a dream where you come home, and I give you the biggest hug ever. I know in my heart this dream means something, and that it matters. I pray to God it will come true. Love, Mom.
A woman hit 34-year-old gun machinist Nathaniel Kibby's car by accident 5 months later in a small town 30 miles north of Conway. Kibby was on his way home. He got out of the car and hit the woman with the handle of his gun because he was so angry. The police didn't know it, but the man who kidnapped Abby 6 months earlier had also done this violent act that seemed random. After the attack, Kibby was arrested and told to give up his most valuable possession, which was a large collection of guns. Kibby did something that was totally out of character for him. He called the police before the surrender date and asked them to come get his guns right away.
We knew, he's probably going to argue everything you're going to say, and he's going to have some sort of I know my constitutional rights and argue that point.
He had very strong beliefs about the Constitution and, its origins and its meaning.
When Eric Benjamin, a police officer who knew Kibby, got to his property, He couldn't help but notice a big shipping container in the backyard. Kibby ignored the question of what was inside, saying that the court order only said he had to give up his weapons.
Any reason to get closer, and he made sure of that.
On top of that, Abby's disappearance was no longer in the news. After 5 months, most reporters concluded that she had run away. Most, but not all, of the local news still talked about the case and how Abby's friends were trying to find the missing teen.
"We miss you, Abby" flash across the new video posted on the Bring Abby Home website. It's filled with messages from friends.
Dear Abby, I cannot tell you enough how much you are missed.
Hi, Abby. I know I haven't seen you in a while.
I really need you back. There's nobody else like you.
Letters are also posted on the website. One friend writes, "One of the hardest things is knowing that I can't talk to you when I need you the most." Friends share their sadness, confusion, and their hope that these messages will be heard somewhere by Abby.
But yeah, we just really, really miss you, Abby. Please be home soon.
After Kibby's fight with the police, the man became more and more afraid. This changed how things were going in the bunker. Abby was now chained up all the time, and Kibby put tubes and pumps next to her bed so the teen could drink on her own while he was out of the bunker 4 days at a time. Kibby's paranoia finally reached its peak, and he did something that no one expected.
He said, "You know too much." He said, "So I need to move you. Like, we can't stay here." He put me in the trunk of the car, and we drove for a really long time. He carried me over his shoulder into a room, and he dumped me on a mattress. He made a room for me, which is where I lived for months. But I noticed on the door there were like screws and then wires. And he told me that he tripped the door so that if it, for any reason it was busted open, the room would catch on fire. When he tied me up, he said, "Do you want to know how I know how to do this?" He told me about his experiences in juvenile prison and about how they abused down there.
This was the first time Kibby let the young teen in after being held captive for 6 months, and their conversation kept getting longer over the next few weeks. Kibby, who doesn't believe in God and is an objectivist, would argue with Abby about whether or not God exists and about his libertarian beliefs. Abby still thought the man was a monster, even though she could tell he liked these conversations. But he still abused her almost every day, even though the worst of the torture was behind her.
Did the rapes stop?
No.
That happened throughout your captivity?
Yeah. But one time he fell asleep with me. I was facing the door, and I woke up, I wasn't wearing a blindfold. So I remember rolling over, and I saw his face, and I quickly sat up, and I covered my eyes because I was afraid he would kill me now. Because he said I needed to forget what his face looked like.
But Abby learned something as the weeks went by. Kibby became less violent and abusive as she became friends with him. A big reader, he gave her a lot of books to read while she was down there. There was a cookbook among them that turned out to be the key to killing her kidnapper. Abby learned a lot more about the person who took her as time went on.
You know, being there for like 9 months, I kind of eventually became weirdly comfortable. And he always told me, he said, "You're like the closest thing I'll ever have to a daughter." I guess he kind of looked at me like he wanted to teach me stuff. So anyway, he had a cookbook, and I would just read the cookbook. But there was a name written in, block letters, and the name was Nate Kibby. I asked him, I said, "Who's Nate Kibby?" He looked a little disappointed, and he just kind of breathed, and he said, "How do you know my name?"
Aside from not wearing his mask around her, he also told her more about his scary beliefs and past. Everything from Ayn Rand to what the Gadsden flag meant. She wasn't surprised when Kibby came up with a plan to fight back against the government he hated so much, because he often talked to her about libertarianism. He became less interested in Abby as they spent more time together printing money.
And he said, "I'm thinking of making counterfeit money," because he said morally, they owe me basically. So he said, "Let's make some fake money." And part of how I gained his trust, I guess, was, I went along with whatever he wanted to do.
He started seeing sex workers instead of his abuser, but it didn't stop. Lauren Monday, 27, from Nashua, was one of the most of the time had a strange experience with him.
Like he needed somebody
to talk to, and that's all he wanted to do. He said he's done bad things. Said, you know, we all have done bad things in life.
They booked a hotel room, but Lauren says Kibby didn't even want to help her. She just wanted support and reassurance.
He rubbed my head and played with my hair and rubbed my face until I fell asleep.
It was empty when Lauren woke up, but there was a bunch of $50 bills on the table. She tried to use that money to buy food at the nearby Walmart later the same day.
The cashier grabbed it and she said, yeah, just give me 1 minute. I said, okay, no problem.
After a few minutes, the cashier came back and told Lauren that the police were coming because the bill she used was a fake that wasn't made well.
Him immediately. And I swore at him. Okay, I said, you could have at least told me. How dare you play with my freedom?
Angry, Lauren didn't hold a second. She gave the police Kibby's email address and a clear description of his badly damaged car, even though he gave her a fake name.
And whatever you're making in your damn basement, you better clean it up right now because they are coming for your ass.
Abby jumped when Kibby slammed her door open in the bunker. She didn't know what happened with Lauren, so she yelled nonsense at the scared teen while lying down hundreds of times. She kept her cool at this point. She reached out and asked him what was wrong in a calm voice. Abby knew Kibby very well after being held captive for 9 months. He taught her how to behave around him, stop his temper tantrums, and even calm him down. She planned to just listen and keep calm at all times. Not easy when her captor tortured and abused her all the time.
If I were going to write a textbook about how victims should deal with abductions, the first chapter would be about Abby.
Before telling Abby to leave, Kibby quickly told her what had happened. After leaving the room, the teen realized something very shocking. Inside the door with the bombs was the first room she had been held in. Before he made her move 4 months ago, she had never left Kibby's bunker. He had been going around and around for hours, but she kept coming back to the same spot in a different part of the bunker. When Kibby got back to his own house, he took off Abby's shock collar and gave her a black plastic bag.
He gave me back my clothes that I got kidnapped in. Said, I need to get you out of here.
You might think that Kibby would move her somewhere else or even kill her and be done with it this time, but that's what makes Abby's case so special. She put her captor in a tough spot by treating him like a person. It's likely that he wouldn't have thought twice about getting rid of her 9 months ago, but now, in his own strange way, the man had grown close to the young teen. This change happened because Abby was so strong and could see the good in everyone, even the person who was hurting her.
She also humanized her captor. She essentially played mind games with this guy and was able to gain his trust.
Somehow find a way of seeing the humanity in the person that was treating you so cruelly and use that as a survival technique.
She still didn't know what he would do when they got to the road. You could drop her off in a different state or give her to someone else. But when she saw a sign on the road that said Conway ahead, her heart started to beat faster. Not long after, Kibby stopped the car where he had taken her almost a year before. Surprised, Abby was able to finish her 9-month walk home. It's too unbelievable to believe.
There were no cars coming either way. He said, get out. I slammed the door and he drove off. Just like that. That was it. I looked back on my freedom and it was something that I really wanted to experience again and I really longed for. I remember looking up and laughing, just being so happy. Like, oh my God, this actually happened. I'm a free person. I never thought it would happen to me, but I'm free. And I just walked home.
Even the boots that got her there in the first place were still on her.
I remember when I came up to my doorstep, I could hear my mom talking on the phone. I could hear her voice. I opened the door and I said, Mom? And I remember she said, Abby? And then I remember she ran out. It was almost like, it was a shock. Like I had this shudder and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That was such a beautiful moment.
I remember just the look on her face. I remember seeing her, and she looked different. She really did. I could see stress, the months of stress in her face, and it kind of killed me a little bit, but I was just so relieved to see her.
But Abby's troubles were far from over. Before letting her go, Kibby's last words were that the police gave him back his guns because the civil case against him had been dropped. She could expect him or one of his libertarian friends to come after her if she ever told anyone who he was. Abby hid Kibby's name because she was determined to keep her family safe.
Her captor told her that he would kill police if they came to get him, that he would kill her family. He made all kinds of threats.
She says, I know the name, but I can't tell you because he's gonna come and kill us. He's everywhere. He knows I'm telling you this now. I was like, no. I said, he doesn't. And like, we're in a public place. She's like, yeah, he's gonna come and shoot us.
When this information came out, people were even more angrier than before, going over the same old drama about Abby's letter from 7 months ago. A lot of people spoke badly about and blamed the survivor for staying quiet.
Was the child held prisoner 9 long months? Was that for real?
Lauren Monday's deposition about the fake money should have indirectly led police to the kidnapper, even if Abby hadn't been involved. At the time, though, New Hampshire was dealing with a large-scale operation to print fake money that was linked to groups that were not connected to Kibby.
Right now, Claremont police are warning people to be on the lookout for counterfeit cash.
Is this a larger part of a bigger group of people? Is this just an isolated incident?
Abby had to decide what to do because she was backed up against the wall. With the help of her family's love and support, she got the courage to tell the FBI who Kibby was. This made sure that he would never hurt anyone else. The Bureau planned a large-scale raid on Kibby's property with the help of the local police.
I heard the radio communication say that he had a pistol in his waistband, and I really felt like the next communication was going to be we were going to hear that there were shots fired.
Kibby turned himself in right away, which surprised the federal agent, but not the local police.
Nate Kibby behaved like Nate Kibby always behaved. He was violent in situations where he had the upper hand. He was never physically confrontational with the police.
For the next 2.5 years, they built their case with the help of investigators and Attorney General Jane Young, while Kibby waited for his sentence in jail. There was no doubt about the results. The 34-year-old was charged with 183 crimes because there was enough proof. From stealing children to committing hundreds of sexual assaults to making fake money. The suspect had no choice but to take a plea deal on 7 of the charges, which meant he would get between 45 and 90 years in prison.
Initially, Nathaniel Kibby faced 183 charges, but with a plea deal with the state, pled guilty to 7 of those charges. Now, Kibby will spend 45 to 90 years behind prison bars.
What this investigation revealed is that every painstaking detail that the victim provided was in fact true, no doubt. Everything supported by evidence, hundreds of pieces of evidence, physical evidence, purchase records, statements of other individuals.
Every day, I'm just glad that she got away. She was one who got away. And it's not a cold case file of another innocent child.
Abby has done a lot of things since Kibby was sentenced, like finish high school and become a hairdresser, which was a goal she had before she was taken. She also became a proud mom and the head producer of a movie based on her story. There was one big story she had before all of that, though. She finally spoke in court on May 26, 2016, and faced Kibby in a way that was comfortable for her.
A dramatic day in a New Hampshire courtroom. A young woman face-to-face with a 34-year-old man under arrest and now charged with kidnapping her.
It seems like forever. 2 years have gone by, but I often think about Kibby. What he did affects my life on a day-to-day basis. My name does not mean the same thing anymore that it did before October 9th. But I need to be safe, and so does my family. When you decided to point that gun at me, that was not my choice. It was not my choice to go to your house. It was not my choice for you to hit me. It was not my choice for you to threaten me. You did all that yourself. I'm just telling you the truth, because sometimes I feel like I wear this whole thing like a millstone around my ankle. Sometimes I still feel like I'm chained, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm completely free. There are certain aspects of my freedom that I can never get back. But in the same aspect, I want you to know that I appreciate my freedom because of you, and that I enjoy and appreciate life because of you, and that I never look at sunshine in the same way. Some people might call you a monster, but I've always looked at you as human. And I want you to know that even though life became a lot harder after that, I still forgive you.